Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dimitri Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
So, welcome back, Modestas. Congratulations on your victory. Nice to have you back on again. And I just wanted to ask you, first of all, to start it off, how are you feeling about the whole experience? You know, it was quite extraordinary circumstances for your debut and how the fight went. So, how are you feeling, having had the time to kind of process everything?
Yeah, mate. It was honestly one of the best experiences I've had in my life. Like, it couldn't have imagined a debut being done any better than that. I mean, listen, obviously I talked about, you know, wanting to fight in the States and stuff like that. And I know that will obviously happen in the future. But to be on such a historic sort of month for mixed martial arts and for the UFC, you know, going out to the island after so much speculation and, you know, sort of so much talks about, you know, what it was going to be like and stuff like that. You know, it was amazing to finally be out there. You know, even all the precautions that they took were, you know, top. No one had COVID, that everyone was fine, everyone was good to go. You know what I mean? They made us quarantine for 2 days before we left, and then 2 days once we got there. And then the UFC, they just, you know, they take care of you to another level in comparison to any other promotion. I mean, Cage Warriors was good, but this is like a massive step up in terms of how they take care of you. You know, they sort out all your physio, they sort out all your meals, they sort out all your supplements, and, you know, they have everything laid out for you. Anyone needs to call, they got it straight away done, ready to go. So yeah, man, like, and, you know, to go out there and win, get the 50,000 bonus, just like I said I would, and you know, how it felt like where I should have been. It felt, everything just felt exactly how I envisioned it, and yeah, really happy with it.
And I want to ask you about how did it feel? Because it's kind of different. You have to go in there, you have to quarantine for 2 days straight. Does that kind of bother you at all in preparation, or?
I mean, it's obviously it's a little bit different. It's not, you know, part of the normal routine. I mean, to be fair, I had a load of things that was sort of different leading up to a fight. But to be honest, it's just like you just adapt and overcome. You just get on with it. Whatever you sort of have in front of you, you just got to think, okay, well, what can we do to sort of make the most out of this situation? And for me, you know, when I was quarantining, I'll just get my own little workouts, you know, visualize more, you know, take some time to have that extra rest that I might have needed. And, you know, to be honest, by the time I got to quarantine, it was sort of, you know, part of the weight cut week anyway. So all the hard work had already been done. I'd already been training for so many months. So, you know, leading into the whole fight week and stuff like that, it was everything just sort of went to plan. I mean, I sort of, you know, hurt my leg prior to going out to Fight Island, and I had to rest it for quite a lot of days. So, like I said, everything just played out how it should have done. And even then, when we were in Abu Dhabi, and I got to talk to, I got to be in a room with my dad, who's also my head coach. So, like I said, you know, we could plan everything, do all the training that we needed to do just in the rooms. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily as good as when they actually gave us a room with like all the matted area and stuff like that. But listen, it was good enough to train. The rooms were massive, 5-star treatment, you know, room service whenever you liked. So yeah, man, it didn't affect anything. It just made the experience all that more sort of fun to sort of to do things that are just outside the norm. I like doing things that are a little bit crazy and different. And yeah, like I said, when you tell your stories, you know, to your kids and grandkids and stuff like that, this would be one of the things.
Absolutely. And I want to ask, you kind of touched on it already a little bit. How did it feel in there? How was it different to what you were used to? Like you said earlier with Cage Warriors, like this is a little bit of a different stage, more magnified and everything. And especially in America now, UFC is pretty much the only thing that was on, or at least when Fight Island was happening, that was it. So did it feel any different for you?
To be honest, I think Cage Warriors was, in terms of the way that they ran it, you know, with the promotion and stuff like that, and with with the level of importance of the promotion and stuff like that, and how well they sort of organize everything. To be honest, it made it very easy to convert to the UFC. That's one thing I think Cage Warriors sort of prides on, is that, you know, the transition's almost seamless, and it felt like that because, you know, I fought in big fights where, you know, there was a lot on the line and stuff like that. There was a lot of media and this and that, you know. Then going into the UFC just felt normal and felt natural. That level of, you know, sort of there's a tier of how well they sort of took care of you and done things, but at the same time, it got me very, very well prepared. And yeah, I've been dreaming about this moment for ages. So everything just felt normal, felt natural. Even when I was walking out to the octagon and stuff like that, and when I stepped on that UFC can, like, it's felt like the natural next progression. What I've been waiting for, what I've been working for. You know, having my name called out by Bruce Buffer. These are all things that I visualized and thought in my head before the fight and before this whole, you know, this is now the next part of the journey, and this is what I've been wanting. So, you know, it was even more so of an adrenaline rush, but less so of me being nervous. It's more, I need to go out and show myself. And it just felt, like I said, it just felt way more natural. And yeah, it just makes me really, really looking forward to the next part of the journey.
I think the more build-up that there was to the fight, and especially into fight week, the more attention you got, and people started kind of taking notice, and you weren't kind of this guy more unknown. You were coming into it as somebody to watch out. And now after the fight, it's like stayed on because you got the victory. How did that feel for you, and how did you cope with it? And how is it now afterwards that you are kind of reaping the fruits of your labor, essentially?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's 2 weeks after the fight. I'm already back into training. I'm already back on the grind, getting ready for the next step and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, when they sort of, I've done interviews even with Megan O'Leary and John Anik and Paul Felder, getting to talk to those guys. It was, like I said, it felt quite surreal at the beginning, but like I said, it's just something that I've been wanting to do. And yeah, there was attention, and, you know, they had talked quite a lot about me and stuff like that, which was great. This is what I want. I want the spotlight to be on me. You know, obviously there's other fighters who had probably more of the spotlight than I did, but I wanted to sort of make a statement so that I could be that guy. That's what I wanted to be. You know, I've always been that kid throughout my whole life who'd never got no attention, never got, you know, was never the popular guy or anything like that. So I really wanted to embrace the moment where finally now, you know, eyes are on you. And you are expected to go out and perform. And like I said, that just made me even more hungry to go out and perform for myself. In terms of after the fight, listen, there seemed to have been a lot of controversy with the stoppage, and, you know, people paying too much attention to things that didn't really matter and stuff like that. But listen, there's a lot of good feedback, and, you know, there's bad feedback that went with it. But listen, all of that is attention. That is people having their eyes on me, people wanting me to win, people wanting me to lose. So, you know, I had quite a lot of messages and stuff like that. Again, good and bad, but I take everything as it is. I know exactly how I performed. I know what I did. I know that I did everything right. I got the 50,000 bonus. So at the end of the day, everything went perfectly. And now it's just back to normal life. It's back to getting on the grind. It's back to you know, scheduling other things, what I need to do. For me now is to get better. I'm, you know, first and foremost, I'm a mixed martial artist. I'm trying to get better at my craft. I feel like I've definitely taken a massive focus onto improving myself as an individual and as an athlete. And I'm trying to level up in every area that I can, because you're on this earth, you know, for a very short time. You're in this career for an even shorter time. So make the most out of it. So that's literally all I've been thinking about. Even when I was supposed to take a rest, all I'm thinking about is fighting. So, you know, and even having a bit of a rest, it gave me more hunger to get back. And yeah, man, now look, going into my next fight, I'll have, again, attention. So I'm really looking forward to going out and performing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, especially in this business, which is short, as long as people want to see you fight, whether it's to win or to lose, and as long as you keep on winning for your career, then that's all you can ask for, right? Because that means you're on the way up all the time.
Yeah, 100%. So any attention is good attention. Even when I went on Take Me Out on that date in show and stuff like that, like whether people thought good of it or bad of it, they were watching it. That's the main thing. Same with Floyd Mayweather. Not everyone liked him. Not everyone liked his style, but people are paying to want to see him. Same with, you know, all these, you know, controversial sort of characters who are sort of outspoken, but people want to see them because they're entertaining. And that's what I want to bring. I want to bring a level of entertainment to the game. It doesn't matter what it is. So, like I say, if I'm bringing in unorthodox strikes that people aren't used to and haven't seen in a while, but it finishes fight, well, that's another thing that people got to look out for. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, so if we could just talk about the fight a little bit, we've touched on some bits already. The finish was quite unconventional, but it was effective. And I think from watching some of your fights before the UFC, you're one of those fighters that can finish from pretty much any position. And even if you're maybe losing on the night, you're still never out of the fight. How important do you think that's going to be in the UFC with the level perhaps higher than you've competed at before?
Yeah, I feel like I'm ready to compete against any athlete. Now the difference is that guys are just going to be more all-rounded. So you're going to have a lot more tricks up your sleeve. You're going to have to throw more inside your toolbox. And like I say, I'm very thankful for those fights in Cage Warriors because it added those layers in the toolbox that even yet I've not been able to show. Like I said, had it gone into the second round, I probably would have showed way more. It takes me quite a long time, it seems, to warm up. But yeah, man, I think having that unorthodox style, and still people don't really know what I'm capable of. They haven't really seen much, or they've seen me, you know, a couple months back, and then next thing you know, I'm gotten that much better because I'm always constantly working and like I said, trying to get better and trying to improve my skill set. So when I go into fights, I'm always a completely different athlete, as I think every fighter should want to strive to be. So, but yeah, I think the fact that I'm unorthodox is going to give me a level of where fighters will see things that they don't expect, and then that's what's going to give me that slight edge, even if, you know, maybe I don't have the better skill set in one area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, how was it to fight without the fans? Because it's kind of, I think it's different to fight with no fans, maybe in London or wherever, and it's different to fly out to the other side of the world and fight with absolutely no fans there.
Yeah. I feel, obviously, listen, there was still all, you know, you had like Michael Bisping, Paul Felder, John Anik, you had still like the main guys at Dana White. And so you were still fighting in front of important people and stuff like that. But to be honest, I didn't feel any different. Usually when I go out there, like when I go out to the tunnel and go up to the cage, I must see my friends and family and, like, you know, people that are supporting me. But then I might see them for that, like, you know, maybe that 5 seconds before they tell me to walk out. And as soon as I walk out, I see nothing else but tunnel vision. All I see is the cage and what I'm about to do. So it felt no different, really, than to that, because, like I said, I'm normally learned to block everything out anyways. Sometimes, you know, I guess people like to sort of play to the crowd and stuff like that. But for me, I just see the cage and that's it. And I'm going there to do the job. And for me, it sort of brings a bit of a calm about everything. And it's quite a nice feeling, actually. And it was even more so calm because there was less people. There was no people there, really. So obviously it would have been nice to, you know, you sort of hear the roar of the crowd. And, you know, especially when I fought against Wojciech, the crowd went absolutely nuts whenever I came back. And then the events leading up to spinning back kicks. So those things are something that sort of I miss. But in terms of the actual fight itself, it doesn't take anything away from any of the performances. I think some of the performances from the fighters have been even better during this climate. And, you know, it just reminds me of, like, sort of sparring sessions that I had in Brazil, you know, before I had my pro debut. And literally it was maybe, you know, like, I guess about 10 fighters around the cage, and they're all waiting because there's just 2 people in the cage at a time, and you guys are literally just going hell for leather. So it literally just reminded me of that. You get the same nerves and the same adrenaline and the same sort of level of noise within the arena. So yeah, although it was different to what I'm used to, it wasn't something that took away from, you know, it didn't necessarily sort of throw me off at all.
Were you one of those fighters that was able to hear, say, the commentators on the side? Because I've seen in the past that some fighters were able to hear, say, Daniel Cormier comment, and then they would adjust to what he was saying and stuff like that. Were you one of those?
I think that's funny. Do you know what? I didn't hear anything. I mainly just heard my corner. I always seem to out of everyone that's talking, I always seem to hear my dad over everyone. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something, I don't know, like some telepathic sort of thing that we have. Like, and then I can always hear him no matter what. Like every finishing sequence, he's always shouting what to do, and I always do exactly what he says, and it always leads to the finish. So, I mean, listen, if I was in the corner where the commentators were, I may have heard something, but realistically, when you're concentrating and thinking about what you're doing, again, it's something that you just sort of block out. I mean, I think the only real time where I'd probably hear it is if I was grappling against the cage on that side, or if I was grappling on the floor on that side, or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I've got the head coach's vibe always bouncing off me whenever I'm in there.
It's probably that familiar voice for you. It's been you and your dad your whole life, so that's the voice that's getting through you, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And he knows me best, and he always gives me the correct advice. I mean, all my coaches give me like really good advice, but yeah, I guess his voice sort of projects to me louder than everyone, because I do remember distinctly when I had my kickboxing fights as a kid, I'd always hear what he had to say. And you know, if I wasn't, you know, performing up to scratch and I needed to pick it up, he would always shout at me and tell me what I needed to do and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a voice that sort of overpowers everything.
Yeah. So last one about the fight. You lost your opponent pretty late. It was a very short notice replacement against a guy who isn't really a 205er, maybe some people would say. So did you have to do any last minute readjustments, or were you just so focused on the fight that you just went in there and focused on yourself?
Everything I'd have been preparing for would work for any opponent. So the things that I was doing, although it was specific to my previous opponent, Vinicius, but again, it just, when I got the replacement, he technically, in terms of overall skill set, Michailidis is better. So in my opinion, and I think, you know, one of the top fighters in Europe. So it meant that I had to be even sharper, and it meant that my striking had to be more solid, because against Vinicius, it would have been more of a grappling heavy sort of game. But the fact that we're working so much on grappling defense to just completely negate that game is what made me sort of more effective for this fight. And it will be the same for every fight, you know? So the stuff that I was working on specifically for Vinicius is actually going to help me progress in all my fights in the future, and then with a bit more of a focus on sort of maybe attacking as well, and showing my levels of skill set that people haven't seen before. People think of me mainly as a striker and a guy who tries to defend stuff, but listen, I'm going to start attacking with those things as well. You know, I've got a very all-rounded game, and people really haven't seen it yet. And you know, in the fights, I've not really got much of a chance to do so. I've taken opportunities as and when I've seen it. So, and that's what I've been doing. But you know, the preparation stayed exactly the same. We kept with the same mindset, except with the fact that we know the guy's going to strike with me. So, okay, with your striking attacks and stuff like that, you just have to adjust a little bit. And those adjustments were very quickly made during the last 2 weeks that I had leading up to the fight. And then yeah, but everything was very similar. It doesn't matter who I fight, I'll always be able to implement whatever game plan that I was working on to any opponent.
So you said that you think Michailidis was probably well-rounded and more skilled. So do you think the ship on that Vinicius Moreira fight has sailed?
Definitely. At first I thought, listen, we didn't get a chance to fight, so I would like to fight him. But, if you're looking at sort of my career and stuff like that, as you said, and what I think, and I've said it in interviews before. I said, I would like to fight him because that fight was supposed to be scheduled. But do you know what? Right now, I'm thinking I'm trying to improve my skill set, like I said, as much as possible and get to the next level. That I'm trying to further myself. So I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to get on these guys in the rankings that are further. So, and I'm always improving every single fight. So yeah, of course. Now I'm just looking onwards and upwards, and yeah, like I say, I can't wait to take on new challenges.
So before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, when would you like to get back in there? You said you're already training again. That's all you're thinking about. Was there any conversations with the UFC?
Yeah, so we actually have something that is in the works. All I will say, well, I don't even know what I can say, but just know that something big is in the works. and it will be within the next couple of months. So I will definitely, you'll definitely see me again soon, is what is all I will say now. And that obviously as well, I've got something else to prepare for, and it's something big. So I can't wait for you lot to find out what it is.
So I was going to ask you the last question of any ideas who you'd like to call out or somebody, but it sounds like you've already got that in the works. So
Yeah.
So I guess I'll improvise and I'll ask you, do you want to stay active then? So do you like this kind of, now when there is not that many fighters available, the quick turnovers, is that something that suits what you're trying to do?
100%, my friend. I mean, listen, I've even wrote on my board, I want to fight 3 times this year. I compete for the UFC 3 times this year and win all 3. That is the goal. That is what I'm wanting to do, and that's what I know is going to happen. I win big in my next fight, and then I'll be looking again for another quick turnaround. I think if you're a fighter, you should fight. You know what I mean? If you're feeling healthy and you're ready to go, challenge yourself. If you feel you're the best in the world, you've got to go out and prove it. You know what I mean? I think the most you get the most sort of improvements and through the experience of being in the cage and fighting top level opposition. You've got to be, right now in the UFC, everyone's level is good. You've got to go out there and prove yourself. So I'm ready to go. Look, Khamzat Chimaev, he within 10 days notice, got another fight and smashed both fights, and now he's looking to fight again in August. And I'm like, I want me something like that. I want to be able to fight as quick as that. You know what I mean? And I think as well, if you call for it and you really want it, they'll give it to you. So at the end of the day, if I've got no injuries and I'm ready to fight, I love competing. That whole situation, that whole environment, the whole circumstance of being out there in Fight Island and fighting for the UFC with Bruce Buff and this and that, that was an amazing experience. But I'm like, okay, well, now that's done, I want another one. Like, it's like a kid that plays with a toy and he wants another one, or he wants to play, he's finished playing with it one day, and then I guess in the morning he wants to play with it again. It's sort of like that. I just want to get in there again, man. It's honestly the most amazing feeling, and competing is just, and I want to help, I want to help my family. I want to help myself. I want to help people that are around me. And this is the only way to do it. You only get paid, you only get your paycheck when you fight. So I want to be able to get my name out there. I'm looking to I said this before, I'm looking to make a statement in the light heavyweight division. I'm looking to create my legacy and really show that I am built to be one of the top fighters in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned with Chimaev, he's had 2 fights in the UFC in the span of a week, and his name is already talked about like one of the big dogs in the welterweight, and he hasn't even reached the rankings yet. So the only way you stay in people's minds if you just keep coming back and keep putting on a show.
100%, man, and that's exactly what I'm looking to go and do.
Perfect, man. Thank you very much for taking the time. Congratulations again on the win and the bonus. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you back in there again, because that was a fun debut.